ASU already has a top 15 recruiting class. By the end of next week, it'll be top 10. And by the end of the summer, ASU runs recruiting.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your guide, Richie Bradshaw, here to give you expert coverage for all things Arizona State Sun Devils, from the gridiron to the hardwood and everything in between. ASU, big time recruiting right around the corner. Next weekend, going to be massive. And ASU is going to land all of those guys. By the time that the summer finishes out, ASU is going to run recruiting. That's all on today's agenda. Let's go ahead and start taking a look at next weekend. So, one of the beautiful things that ASU has when we take a look at recruiting sites is being able to see how we stack up against everyone else. And 24/7, which is my preferred website for recruiting, you are free to use any place. I think Rivals is great. I think On3 is a growing place, and ESPN is one of the recruiting services of all time. 24/7 is my preferred. And currently, 24/7 has ASU ranked as the number 15 recruiting class in the country. Taking a look at that class, there are 10 commits currently to the program, highlighted by 4-star tight end Israel Briggs and 4-star quarterback Jake Fette. ASU also has a recent commit for linebacker Julian Hugo, who is a very high 3-star, bordering on 4-star, and tight end Hayden Vercher, who is a 3-star on 24/7 and is a 4-star on several other recruiting sites. Also, there is the corner for ASU, Jalen Williams. Really weird. He's 86 graded on 24/7, which is like middle of the pack 3-star. He is a 4-star on Rivals, and I think On3 has him as a 4-star as well. So ASU has several 4-stars if you want to include these guys as a total. And typically, I like to use the composite score for these guys that 24/7 provides when I take a look at guys who are 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, all that good stuff. So ASU's already got a great class. Looking at their 10 guys, and you have 2 consensus 4-stars. You've got 2 guys that are bordering on being 4-stars and are 4-stars on other sites. And then you have one more guy, Jalen Hugo, who is right there. I don't think he's a 4-star anywhere else, though. Pretty good class. Well, it's about to get 10 times better. 10 guys currently, right? Next week, 16 recruits are going to be visiting Tempe, Arizona. Of those 16 recruits, first of all, 2 of them are Jake Fette and Israel Briggs. Yeah, the cream de la crop, or whatever the phrase is, of this recruiting class, yeah, they're going to be in attendance for this. First of all, that doesn't feel like an accident that they are going to be here for the biggest weekend. We'll talk about the weekends coming up, but this is the biggest, busiest weekend coming up next week for ASU Sun Devils football. And you happen to have the stars and the prize possessions of your recruiting class available for this. I don't know. That doesn't seem like a coincidence to me. And I'm not complaining by any stretch of the imagination. Beyond those 2, there are 3 more 4-stars that are in attendance. One of them is teetering on 5-star status. Seriously. We'll break all these guys down in a second. The other guys in this class, or in this recruiting cycle, are 3-star guys. But beyond having Hayden Vercher and Jake Fette there as your 4-star commits, you also have 7 total guys, including those 2, that have already committed to ASU. So almost half of the guys that are visiting next weekend, 7 of 16 guys have already committed. 5 of the 9 that are remaining have what is called warm status that you have from 24/7. And warm status essentially means that like that program is in a really good spot to be competing. So it's not so much like, hey, this player is down to its top 5 schools or its top 3 schools or anything like that. But it does mean that this kid really likes the program and it's a program that they're very much considering. So 5 of the 9 remaining guys who are uncommitted. So remember, we have 7 guys that are visiting that are already committed to the program. 5 of the 9 who have not committed have that warm status. That includes that kid that is borderlining on 5-star status, defensive lineman Jamarian Carlton. Now, for what it's worth, he is expected to commit to Texas. What a surprise. Texas getting incredibly high 4-star / 5-star kids who play defensive line. By the way, he's a defensive lineman who are in state. He's a Texas kid. Not a surprise, but ASU's made a really good run for Texas kids lately, and there's every chance and possibility that they could land him as well. You've also got Jalen Scott visiting. He is a receiver from Georgia. ASU is the only program that is listed with the warm status for him. I feel really good about him committing. Also, he is a 4-star composite ranking. So there are other sites that have him ranked very, very high or potentially a 4-star. So if you want to use composite scores, which is what I like to use, 2 4-stars are right there. You also have 3-star Carde Mack, also a 4-star, I believe on Rivals has him as a 4-star. So we just went from 1 to 2 to 3 kids who are 4-stars on other websites. Jalen Scott is a 4-star composite. Carde Mack is not. You can make of that what you will. There is a 3-star interior lineman. I do not want to butcher his name, so I will call him Mr. Primus. He has got a very complicated name with it being Polynesian. And I encourage you guys to look it up. And if you can help me figure out how to pronounce it, please let me know. I do not want to butcher it. I'm going to call him Mr. Primus for this podcast. And then 3-star Isaiah Tokyo. Those are the guys who are currently listed with that warm status for ASU. So there's a good chance that ASU can get some of those guys to commit. If I had to make a prediction, I would almost guarantee that Jalen Scott, the receiver from Georgia, will be committing to ASU. There's no other program that he is warm on. He is all in on this program. Hines Ward is going to be able to seal the deal with him. We'll talk more in detail about that all coming up next. But this is a huge, massive weekend that's coming up for ASU. 16 kids, 7 who have already committed, including the top 2 kids in your class. There is a consensus 4-star teetering on 5-star status that is visiting that has you as one of their higher up schools. There are 2 more kids who are ranked 4-stars on other sites. There are 2 more kids that are consensus 3-stars. Then you have 4 other kids who we'll talk about here in just a moment. If somehow this all works out, ASU's recruiting class is going to skyrocket. I want to remind you again that ASU currently has the number 15 recruiting class. They have 2 consensus 4-stars. They've got 2 guys that are borderlining on 4-star status or have a 4-star status somewhere else. And then we have that one really high 3-star who could be able to get themselves into that 4-star status. So for anyone who's been wondering and questioning and pondering whether or not Kenny Dillingham can recruit after we have seen 3 years of cycles, Next year's cycle is really going to show off how far he has come. And we've already known that he's a good recruiter. He recruited very well at Florida State and recruited very well at Oregon. He gets to ASU and he proves right out the gate he can get these guys in. Jaden Rashada, who was a borderline 5-star and super high 4-star quarterback, committed to the program Kenny's first year, working with a 3-win program. That doesn't happen by accident. The next year, he lands 2 4-star kids, Jaden Fortier and Jason Brown. This year, he was able to bring 2 more 4-star kids with Cam Dyer and AJ Ia. Now, next year, we've already got two firm consensus 4-stars, and there's potential for so many more. And I'm telling you guys, by the end of next week, when they land these kids, this class is going to skyrocket. That's coming up next. It's the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Did you know that Amazon Fire TV can be available on your Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire Stick 4K devices. There's no console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25, my personal favorite, to Call of Duty 6 Black Ops. It's so easy to stream these games. It's as easy as streaming your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your TV. With Wi-Fi 6, 6E, and auto low latency mode, active or advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds. Look, I may not be this crazy gamer. You know, I turn on the College Football 25 every once in a while, but again, there are so many amazing things that they provide. And personally, I love that I can access my Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max accounts, Paramount Plus accounts, all on the Fire Stick TV. And of course, I can take a look at Locked On as well. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and capable controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd generation, and Fire TV Cube 3rd generation. Thanks as always for tuning in to make Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day, and a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. ASU is not only going to have a big recruiting weekend, they are going to land every single kid. You heard me. Every single one. At worst, they are going to get the 5 commits with the warm status. Let's take a look at these kids. You have, for the warm status, remember, 4-star Jamarian Carlton. That's the bordering on 5-star kid. 3-star running back Carde Mack. He is a 4-star, I believe, on Rivals. 3-star interior lineman Mr. Primus. You have the 3-star receiver Jalen Scott, who was a 4-star composite, and a 3-star Isaiah Tokyo. You are landing all 5 of them. You want to know why? Because there's connections to all 5 of them. Carlton, Mack, and Primus. Hashtag Texas to Tempe. Yeah, it's as simple as that. ASU has recruited the state of Texas as well as anybody else. On the West Coast, that is not the state of Texas. They know what they're doing, man. And also, for what it's worth, Mr. Primus, you're going to be able to pitch that Polynesian pipeline approach with him. So he's a safe bet. And Jamarian Carlton's going to walk into this program. He's going to be like, you know what? I did want to be a Longhorn, but not anymore, baby. I'm a Sun Devil. I'm a Sun Devil, man. That's what's going to happen. You are going to get all 5 of those guys. I promise they are committing. Okay, well, what about the other 4 guys? I think you can convince them too. May have the cool status right now, but I think there's a chance that you can convince these guys. At worst, they will leave their visit and go, maybe I should consider Arizona State. Maybe I should consider ASU. Maybe I should consider being a Sun Devil. Here's the thing. These 4 kids that are not committed, 4-star receiver, Caden Finley, 4-star athlete, and for what it's worth, he is listed as a corner on ESPN, Paris Melvin Jr., 3-star Jimmy Frisco Alo Suliafu, defensive lineman, and 3-star linebacker Oscar Aguilar. Let's take a look at why ASU could possibly convince them to stick around. 4-star receiver Caden Finley and 4-star athlete / cornerback Paris Melvin Jr. Hashtag Texas to Tempe, baby. Hashtag Texas to Tempe. Also, let's take a look at who their positional coaches are. Wide receiver coach is someone, Super Bowl, and that's right, Super Bowl MVP and 2-time champion Hines Ward, who has already left his mark on this program with these receivers. Look at the way that guys were able to step up last year, and especially one Jordan Tyson, who is going to go into the season as one of the 5 best receivers in college football and should have some of the best odds to win the Biletnikoff Award as the nation's best receiver. But there's also these other guys who really improved. I think that Melkon Stovall took a huge step forward under Hines Ward last year. I think that Malik McLean, who struggled to get onto the field in the first 4 weeks of the season before redshirting, clearly was soaking in all the coaching, because when they brought him back for the playoff, he looked pretty darn good. Now he's got more guys to work with, and the prestige he has by himself should be able to sell Caden Finley. Okay, well, what about Paris Melvin Jr.? Oh, well, that's Brian Carrington. Brian Carrington, our defensive backs coach, has proven to arguably be the best recruiter on this staff, or at least at a minimum from the assistant coaches. When Brian Carrington talks to you, you listen. And it's not just like I hear you, like strong eye contact, blah, blah, blah. It's no, I am dialed in. Nothing else is going on. Brian Carrington is such a great person. I've sat down and talked with him many times, and he is just the nicest guy who's going to let you know, like, I'm not going to put up with any BS, but if you want to work with me, then I'm going to get the most out of you, and I'm going to get you to the next level. There's a reason that some of these kids who have not been able to get onto the field for defensive backs haven't swapped. Keith Abney has been here since day one. Now, he has been able to work himself onto the field, right? Here's looking at some of the other guys. Montana Warren, same class. He has barely been on the field in 2 years. He's not transferring, and because of that, he's in line for a potential starting spot this year because he's soaking in that coaching. Look at the guys from last year. Rodney Bimage Jr., Tony Lewis and Cuba. They decided to stick around. They didn't get on the field, period. Now they're in line for potential big roles. Kyan McDonald, a safety. He was a special teamer last year. He may be able to earn himself some playing time. Chris Johnson Jr., moving from corner to safety, might be able to get himself some playing time. He speaks and these kids listen. They're not decommitting and they're not transferring. He knows what he's doing when he talks to these defensive backs. So he may be able to get into Paris Melvin's ear. And even with the cool status, he may leave Tempe and go, ooh, I liked sitting down with Coach Carrington. There's a way to sell him on that. The other 2 3-star kids, Jimmy Frisco, I don't want to potentially mess his last name up again. The 3-star defensive lineman, it's a Texas to Tempe connection. We'll see what can happen there. And then the 3-star linebacker, Oscar Aguilar, is a Southern Cal kid, and ASU over the last several years has done a really good job recruiting with Southern Cal. Let's see if they can continue to do it. Here's 3 things, 3 aspects that could sell these kids. The first one we already talked about is these positional coaches will be able to sit down, have great conversations with them, and get them to feel at home. This is none more so true than the 2 4-stars who happen to be talking with 2 of the best recruiters on the staff. They're going to make them feel like home. Second of all, I don't know if I mentioned this already. There are 7 kids with this upcoming visit for next weekend who have already committed. They're going to be talking about the program. Hey, why'd you commit, Jake? Oh, let me tell you. This, that, and the other. They're going to do everything they can to sell these kids. Their peers. Hey, come to ASU. Look at what we're building. I'm committed. I want you to commit because the future is here for us. I talked about this on yesterday's pod. There's going to be a lot of change for the Sun Devils roster next year. You're losing almost your entire defense. You're losing almost your entire offensive line. You are more than likely rebuilding your receiver core again. There's a chance that your running backs are gone, and you're going to have a new quarterback more than likely. So you get these guys to buy in. It's like, hey, there's a huge opportunity for us to step up here. There is a massive opportunity. These kids are going to sell them. And third of all, it's Kenny Dillingham. If anyone's going to sell them on the program, it's Kenny Dillingham. You listen when he speaks. That is an old soul who's only 35 years old. He talks like he's in his 50s or 60s and he's been coaching for his entire life. Instead, it's this young dude that these kids can relate to. They look at him and they're like, this program is turning around. It's turning around fast. And this is someone that understands me. Kenny understands NIL. Kenny understands how to reach these kids that some of the old heads in college football simply aren't able to do. So if anyone can sell these kids, it's Kenny Dillingham. Now, here's the thing. As we begin to head to the next and final segment of the show. With these warm recruits, with one of them a consensus 4-star, 3 of them 4-stars on other websites or composite ranking, and 1 consensus 3-star. You land all 5 of them, which I already told you they're landing all 5 of them. Your class went from 10 recruits to 15 recruits, and you just added another consensus 4-star to bring you to 3 4-stars. Remember earlier we said we had 2 guys that were 4-stars elsewhere? You just added 3 more there. You have just created a room with 3 consensus 4-stars and 5 borderline 4-stars. That's a lot, and it's only going to get better. That's coming up next is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks, as always, for tuning in to make Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. Shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. By the time that this weekend, or excuse me, not this weekend, by the time that summer wraps up for ASU, they will run recruiting. Don't believe me? Let me tell you why. First of all, next week, ASU is going to land 5 more kids. They're going to go from 10 to 15, 3 consensus 4-stars, and 5 kids who are composite 4-stars or are 4-stars elsewhere. So let's say they have great seasons and they get a bump. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 4-star kids. 8 4-star kids that are in this recruiting class. 8 of 15. Not bad. Okay, well, we're not done yet. May 2nd, another big weekend. 10 kids will be in attendance. 2 of them are 4-stars. 3 of them are 3-stars. 8 of them are 3-stars, excuse me. One of those 3-stars is Jontavius Wyman, who was already committed to Miami. Could you flip him? Yeah, of course you could flip him. But that's not going to be easy. The other 9 have warm status. Yep. Of the 10 kids that are visiting next week, one of them is already committed to a program, and the other 9 are strongly considering Arizona State. Holy cow. So you're telling me over the next 2 weeks, Arizona State is going to have 14 kids who are strongly considering the program. 3 that are consensus 4 stars, several that are borderlining on 4-star status. What? So in a best case scenario, ASU, who currently has 2 confirmed 4 stars, will potentially more than double that and have 5 total 4-star kids, consensus 4-star kids, within the next 2 weeks. And what feels like a countless amount of borderline 4 stars. Yeah, that's pretty crazy too. And then tons of 3 stars. But a ton of these guys that are visiting are 4-star kids. Do you guys realize how big of a deal that is? Now, look, at the end of the day, recruiting is fun. Rankings are fun. It's always cool to look and go, wow, ASU, look at all these 4 stars. Oh, there's a 5-star they just got. This, that, and the other. Yeah, it's cool to look at. At the end of the day, as Kenny Dillingham has said many a times, we are interested in adding football players that want to be here and football players who are bought in to the program and football players who are going to compete as hard as the 5-star kids. I don't care if they're unranked. I don't care if they're 3 stars. If they have the attitude of competing at the highest level, then they're going to be at that program. That's why, even though you've been mocked for these first 3 recruiting classes, like, oh, they've only had 5 4-stars in 3 cycles, there's a reason why this team is still good. Remember when we went up against Texas in the Peach Bowl? What did they all say? You guys don't have NFL players. You won't be able to match up with us. Matched up pretty well. And that was without NFL players. I got news for you. A lot of kids on this team have a shot to go pro. A lot of them. A couple of them could be first-round picks. They are trending in a great direction right now. So, yeah, the star ratings, the numbers and everything, they're fun to look at. They don't mean everything, but they do have intrinsic value because it shows you that as a consensus, people are looking at those kids and they go, yeah, he's going to be pretty darn good. And now look at all these kids that ASU has. Crazy. Now, as we round out the rest of the summer, so for the remainder of May, you will have 1 player visiting on Friday, May 15th. He's a 3-star defensive lineman, Dakota Dixon. The next day, May 16th, there will be 5 kids visiting. All of them are, 4 of them are 3 stars. 1 of them is unranked. 3 of those kids that are visiting have the warm status. Dakota Dixon also has the warm status. So 4 of 6 kids that will be visiting between Friday the 15th and Saturday the 16th have warm status. Yeah, it's pretty good. June 6th. This is going to be a weekend that we're going to have a whole podcast dedicated just to this weekend. It is a huge opportunity for ASU. Now, on the surface, if you were to go to 24/7 right now and look at it, you'd be like, I don't get it. Why is this such a big weekend? There's only 3 guys. There's only 3 guys visiting, and they're all 3 stars. Let me tell you why June 6th might be the craziest, biggest weekend for recruiting that ASU may have. First of all, of the 3 kids, safety 3-star Matthew Mason has the warm status. Cool. There's another commit. Then you have 3-star Chris Stewart, wide receiver, and unranked safety Carter Stewart. Chris Stewart is a 4-star composite receiver. So he's 4-star elsewhere. He is currently committed to Texas. Yeah, that's going to be tough to move him off of Texas. Well, here's the thing. Those 2 are brothers. Chris and Carter Stewart are brothers. And as you would imagine, because we see this all the time, they have an interest in playing at the same program together. So Carter Stewart is probably going to commit to Texas then, right? No, because he doesn't have an offer from Texas. He does not have an offer from the program that is recruiting his brother. They want his brother. They have no interest in Carter Stewart. And that's a big deal. And rumor mill, that's something that Chris is heavily considering. Take that for what it's worth. You know who he does have an offer from? Carter Stewart, the one who doesn't have an offer from Texas, the unranked safety. You know who he's got an offer from? Arizona State. You know who else has an offer from Arizona State? Chris Stewart, his brother, the 4-star receiver. That weekend goes well. You could get 3 commits. You could get the 3-star safety. You could get Carter Stewart, currently unranked safety. And then 4-star receiver Chris Stewart, but not just getting him to commit, getting him to flip. Flip his commitment from the University of Texas Longhorns football program, who I have said many, many times is one of the true blue blood programs in all of college football. And you just flipped one of their players, and not just a low profile kid. He is a 4-star receiver. He has a chance to play with Arch Manning if Arch decides to play another season. For what it's worth, I do think he does, but that's so neither here nor there. He has a chance to play with Arch Manning next year. If it's not Arch, they have another 5-star quarterback for next year. And he gets to play under Steve Sarkisian, who might be the best offensive mind in all of college football. That's a lot of great opportunities, and he may flip. And he may flip to Arizona State. Oh my God. Can you believe that? Can you believe the possibility? And not a 1 in a million possibility. There is a genuine chance that Carter Stewart commits to ASU, and Chris Stewart sees that and says, I want to play with my brother. I'm sorry, Texas. I'm gonna go to Arizona State. I'm gonna go to Tempe, and I'm gonna play with my brother. That would be insane. That would be absolutely insane. So outside of the recruits that we talked about between next weekend, April 25th, and the weekend after that, ASU still has 3 4-stars with the warm status and 12 3-stars with the warm status. So that's 15 kids. 15 kids who have the warm status with the potential of flipping the Stewart brothers. But let's say they don't do it. Let's say they just get the warm recruits. We said they had 15 going into all of this. You just doubled your class. That's 30 commits. 30. This program is going to lose so many players next offseason because of guys running out of eligibility and potentially declaring for the draft early. You're going to reload this damn team with this recruiting class alone. 30? And you may flip some kids. And you may get some of the kids who have a cool status to buy into the program. You would have just the warm kids, 7 4-stars, 6 more who are composite 4-stars or borderline 4-stars, and then 17 3-star kids. Holy cow. That's nearly a 50-50 split of 4-stars and 3-star kids. And for what it's worth, right now, the program with the most 4-star kids in the entire country is USC with 12. By the way, USC recruiting, we got to talk about that more just as college football fans, because they are doing crazy stuff right now, especially on the defensive side of the football. They're not done getting recruits for sure, but ASU will have more than half of what they have of consensus 4-stars with the potential to have 15 total. Or 13 total, 13 total, which would be one more. That's how good this recruiting class is right now. That's how good ASU is trending right now. They already have the number 15 recruiting class in the nation. They have a chance. I will tell you, if all this comes to fruition, we have 30 kids with warm status and they commit. So 10 already plus the 20 that are visiting. 20! They all commit. That's 30 kids. And then just for fun, let's say we get the Stewart brothers. That's 32 kids. You are shooting up the board. Not only are you going to be a top 5 recruiting class, undoubtedly, you might be number 1. And if you have 30 kids or 32 kids, commits, recruits with as many 4 stars as they do, guess what? I don't need a 5-star because I am running college football for recruiting. Look at me. I'm Arizona State. I'm flexing my muscles. The sleeping giant. Guess who's going to get a mountain's worth of NIL to pour into to keep this roster together? That's insane. ASU is getting ready to run recruiting, ladies and gentlemen. It starts with next week. Probably the biggest recruiting weekend of what is already scheduled. The weekend after that's going to be really big too. There's a chance that ASU is able to land the warm status kids. And by the end of summer, they may have the best recruiting class in the country. What do you guys think of all of this? Who do you want the most from the upcoming warm recruits? And how high do you think ASU will be able to finish with recruiting? Let me know in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter at RichieBrads36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils, wherever you're getting your shows. Hit like, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. You'll get an update whenever we post new content. As always, I appreciate you guys for tuning in to make Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. And a shout out to my everydayers who are here every single day. We will be back again very soon. I would like to go live this weekend. I am off on Sunday. We are potentially going to be here on Sunday. If anything big breaks out, I will be sure to keep you updated whenever it happens. So again, turn on your notifications. Now has never been a better time to do so. I'll catch you later. Until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.